As we commemorate the 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the U.S. Constitution, one thought has preoccupied my mind, an event from the early days of the American Republic. On March 4th, 1801, President John Adams did the unthinkable. He willfully allowed his most bitter political rival, Thomas Jefferson, to succeed him as President of the United States. John Adams had served as George Washington's vice president for his 2 terms in office, and then had won the election of 1796 by a very slim margin. His presidency was marred by international crises and domestic scandals, and in the election of 1800, he was resoundingly defeated. In fact, members of his own party actually campaigned against him. On March 4th, 1801, John Adams became the first loser of American presidential history. And his presidency was largely remembered as that, one of a loser. However, it's exactly in his loss that John Adams became the preeminent defender of America's fragile democracy. Renowned political scientist and democratic theorist Adam Jaworski has argued that the fundamental characteristic of political democracy is the unceasing presence of electoral losers, especially people running for re-election. In 2015, Jaworski wrote that in a democracy, incumbents expose themselves to the possibility of defeat and yield office with full confidence that their opponents would do the same. In other words, in a political democracy, meaning a system where people's political beliefs are represented by their government, presidents, rulers, legislators give up office. And in fact, they can and should be removed by the power of elections. Today, on every continent on Earth, people are demanding that their governments recognize the value of their vote. For example, last year in Bolivia, President Evo Morales fabricated the results of his re-election, and people immediately poured into the streets. And based on this pressure, the Bolivian military, or rather inspired by this pressure, the Bolivian military moved in and removed Morales from power. The lesson to be learned from Bolivia is that when presidents lose elections, they have to give up power. As a more extreme example, consider the unfolding events in Belarus. The most recent sham elections run by the longtime dictator Viktor Lukashenko have caused people to pour onto the streets. These are people for whom the only political system they have ever known is dictatorship. Now, these demands for representation in Belarus are being made at a terrible cost because Lukashenko, like countless dictators before him, is relying on violent repression to put down the pro-democratic protesters in Belarus. Now, these demands for political representation should be particularly moving to us here at Chadron State College because, as sociologist Misag Parsa has pointed out, college students, more than any other group in society, have the political will and the political power to tear down anti-democratic systems of oppression. Around the world, college students are being arrested, beaten, and even killed as they demand that their governments recognize the value of their vote. And I think that perhaps one of the best ways for us to show our solidarity for these pro-democratic movements around the world is for us to not take our opportunity, our right to vote for granted. College-age students are the most recent demographic group to be constitutionally guaranteed the right in the United States to vote. The 26th Amendment of the Constitution says that the right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or over to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of age. Unfortunately, in the United States, people between the ages of 18 and 29 cast presidential votes at about half the rate as the rest of the voting age population. It seems that in the United States, college students have come to take their opportunity, their right to vote, for granted. In just under 2 months, there's a general election scheduled in the United States of America. It's not too late to register to vote. Let your voice be heard. Let your vote be counted. On November 3rd, you have the opportunity, the right, to be a part of the most fundamental institution in political democracy. And it's a right that people just like you all around the world today are fighting and dying for. Let your vote be counted.